Do you guys want to hand out season-ending grades?
Sure, I'm good with it.
We can finally. I feel like that's the last thing. We just tie a bow on this season, and then we can really dig into some of the off-season stuff
Off
a
season's
little later.
I'm super excited about.
So let's start. Let's start with the coaching staff, and let's just bundle them all up together so we don't deep dive into everybody and we spend a half an hour on this. Kyle, Sorensen, and Schneider.
I'm
What
gonna
would you give them as a letter grade for their performances this year?
I'm gonna give him a C minus from me,
So
Steven.
when you're asking about like the other grades, are you going to break it down like by position group, or are you going to?
Position. So I'm going to say like running backs
Okay,
and the O line and the D line.
okay.
And if you don't just have to give a letter grade, like Chase, if you want to expand on your C minus a little bit, go for it. It's up to you.
I'm gonna say C minus. I don't think Sorensen did very well. He would be the D in there that would bring it down, even though he did show some moments of improvement, I think. Kyle definitely did not have his best year, but I still think he's an outstanding coach. And I still think he put together some good game plans that weren't executed to the fullest of their abilities. I'm not saying it was definitely not his best year, but I still think he's an outstanding coach. Schneider, it's hard to judge him because I don't know special teams enough to even be able to place blame accurately. But since he is the person in charge of it, I'm going to say he did poorly. So yeah, that's my reasoning for a C minus.
I'm just going to give him a straight up C, so I'm a little bit nicer than Chasen, but I think I'm just right down the middle because I do feel like they had a bunch of stuff happen to them that they couldn't control, and so I think I'll tell you what I liked and what's kind of bringing their average up until maybe the last week or two. I still felt like the Niners came to play and had the fight, and were really like trying to win. Like they always should, right? But like they seemed like they had a plan, they were executing it in a lot of games. They were close in the first half, right? A lot of the games that they lost, it was a toss up game, even against like the Lions. And then it just kind of like they wore down over time. Is that coaching? Probably partially the fact that they wore down, but it could also be that over the course of a game, the lack of your ones being out there shows more. So I'm gonna I'm gonna give them just an average grade because I think that they could have done a better job getting guys disciplined, all that stuff. We talked about all the penalties, so they could have done a better job there. But I think they did a better job than people realize with the circumstances they were faced with. So C for me.
I would disagree.
I'm going to give him a D because Sorensen, F plus, D minus. I think he was just way in over his head. Schneider, F minus. Special teams disasters nearly every week. Mental mistakes, physical mistakes, just bad. And Kyle, I thought Kyle maybe had his worst year since as a head coach. I do give him a little bit of slack because I know the team was injured a lot, but um, I wish he would be a little more aggressive on fourth down. Sometimes I wish he would not kick 23-yard field goals. I think I saw a stat at some point during the season. Later in the season, there was 12 field goals kicked in the NFL that were under 30 yards. The Niners had 4 of them. That's what, a third of them. Like,
You got
why are we kicking?
you got to build Moody's confidence.
There's no guarantee he's even going to hit those. But yeah, so I wish he would get a little more aggressive, especially when you know the defense is not playing well, especially he's making mistakes. Go out and win games with your offense. And yeah, so and plus Sorensen and Schneider were not good, and Kyle hired those guys, so that's on him. But I still agree with Jason. I think he's a really good coach, and I'm expecting him to bounce back next year. So we'll see. Quarterback, how'd Brock play this year?
I'll give him Brock's tough. I'm between a B minus and a C plus. I'm gonna go.
I should say sorry to cut you off. Quarterbacks, because we did see 3 quarterbacks this year.
I'll go with B minus, and I'll probably focus on Brock. But Josh Dobbs is bringing it up from a C plus to a B minus.
Really?
I'm being a little sarcastic, but I do like our backup quarterbacks for being backups. Wouldn't want them starting for a long time, or ideally not at all,
or ever.
or ever. Okay, so I'll focus on Brock. Brock showed us some things this year. He showed us the ability to throw the ball deep, especially in the beginning of the year. He showed us that for sustained periods, he is still super accurate. He can do some damage with his legs, but we definitely saw some cracks in the armor, which is why I was kind of teetering on the C plus, and it definitely wasn't a great year from Brock. I think there was a lot of good that is overshadowed by his inability to get it done in the clutch, the fourth quarter interceptions. So I'm hoping he'll be better next year. I think he will be better next year and look more like the prior year, or even better than that. He didn't have a lot of his weapons, including his all-world running back or his all-world left tackle. So I'm cutting him a little bit of slack. I'm choosing to take kind of the optimistic road and give him a B minus, and I think he will be better next year.
You want me to go next?
Go ahead.
I feel like Chasen talking almost talked me up from where I started. Like things he was saying. Like I was going to be a little bit lower. I'm focusing on Brock too because I feel like Dobbs.
We don't have to talk about the other two.
Yeah, Dobbs showed what he is, and that's moments of good and exciting, and then kind of peters
3
out.
turnovers and a loss.
Yep, kind of peters out by the end. So, and we don't even need to talk about Brandon Allen. Poor guy. What a horrible spot to be put in. But
he would probably make it like the Niners should hire him next year as a coach or something. Just stop playing, dude.
So I'm gonna give Brock a B, and it doesn't feel right given the results and the season they just had, and especially because I feel like the first things that I'm going to talk about are negative. And that is, we talked about the clutch thing, we talked about the bad weather stuff on here. Like it seems like, and even there was times this year where I felt like he looked like he got a little antsy in the pocket and like resorted to some mistakes that he was making as a rookie, that I didn't see as much last year. But here's why I'm going to give him a B. Chasen talked about the guys that were missing. The O-line was not great for him the whole time, and he still had the Niners competitive in most games. And I feel like he made a lot of good decisions. Some of his turnovers wasn't the bad decision. It was, ball got away from him, sailed on him, whatever. That's going to happen. As much as you don't want it, as much as you want your quarterback to be a perfect robot, it's going to happen, right? So I'm not going to give him too much grief for that stuff. I also think that in years past, he got away with some stuff that he shouldn't have got away with, like when it came to turnovers. Like there was guys dropping picks. So I feel like this year it just didn't happen. And so it's in a weird way almost the worst version that we're going to see of his situation. And the reason I'm going to give him a B is because of what I had talked about before, where I feel like his results are worse, the team results are worse, but he almost seems better to me individually. And it's hard for me to put my finger on that or quantify it. I know I saw some stats about like his QBR being pretty high given like where his offensive line play was, lack of weapons, all that stuff. Like I felt like he kept the Niners in games, and other than in the fourth quarter, which I know is like money time, I generally feel pretty good when Brock has the ball in his hands. Like I feel like he's going to make something good happen. And so I'm looking at it as way more good than bad. That's a B for me. It just sucks that the bad is so bad. Like it comes up in the fourth quarter in bad weather games, whatever. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give him the same grade Chase did, a B minus. I thought he played well for the most part, but he did make disastrous decisions at clutch times late in the season when they needed him most. That Rams interception, I just cannot forget. The one against the Dolphins, even though the season was pretty much over, like that one was bad. But there were a lot of injuries, no McCaffrey basically, no Ayuk basically. Kittle was awesome, Jawan stepped up, but yeah, he didn't have a ton of help, and I thought he tried to make what's what's that saying? Trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit or something like that. I
Yeah.
thought he tried, and for the most part, he did, and he kept the Niners in it. But he did make some disastrous plays that cost the Niners some games. So hopefully, his team get healthy around him, and Kyle can have a bounce back year, and Brock can have a bounce back year as well. Let's go running backs. How do you guys think the running backs did overall? Because we saw a lot of them.
Gosh, this one's hard to say because it's like, can I even grade Christian in the limited time he played? And I want to grade Garindo differently because he's a rookie and like a raw rookie, and I'm excited about the potential. But like early on, he was missing holes like crazy.
Don't
So
forget about the team's leading rusher too.
Jordan Mason,
Yeah,
he played really good. Um, Gosh, I don't feel too strongly about this grade, but I'm going to give him a B minus just because the depth had to pull through, and I feel like they did. I don't think they had a lot of holes to run through with this offensive line, and I feel like Garindo ran hard, especially towards the end as he got better. Jordan Mason ran really hard. Christian honestly is dragging it down more than anything. I don't think he played great until like that game that he got hurt. Um, so I'm gonna give him like a weak B minus just because I'm kind of proud of the depth guys for showing up and getting better and the work that Jordan Mason put in, as well as Garindo getting better. And I think we could have a really strong room next year if Christian stays healthy. So yeah, kind of just a weak B minus. I don't feel strong about.
So if we're judging it purely on players, because like you're not saying the running game, like we're not including
Oh,
Kyle.
we're gonna talk about the O line.
Yeah. So if we're just talking about purely the running backs, oddly enough, like I feel like they were a bright spot on the team. Like everybody looks at it like, hey, the backs stepped up. Look at them, they did good. I feel like they're almost the opposite of Brock for me, where their results look better than they were. And so I'm going to give them a C minus actually as the
Whoa,
players because
hater.
yeah, I mean honestly, like we Gurindo, I'm not grading on a curve. He's a rookie, but you're in the NFL, dude. You gotta play, and he would
Third
take
round pick too. It wasn't like some undrafted guy.
right. So I mean, yeah, he had some awesome plays, and I like him overall, and I'm really glad about like him being on the Niners and his future. He also missed some obvious holes, took some bad angles. I saw it multiple times throughout the season.
Couple fumbles.
Yep. Mason, who like I really like, and I feel like he's the almost like the little engine that you just want to root for, that he's just going to keep going. Baby Beast Mode or whatever his nickname is. I really like Mason. I feel like he's kind of just a one trick pony. Like I don't feel like you can really count on him giving you much out of the backfield in the passing game. I don't know that he's that good of a blocker. I think he tries. I think he tries really hard, but I just don't. I feel like between the tackles, runner, executing the scheme, he's really solid. He's really good. And everybody points to like that Jets game, like, look at how great he was. Well, McCaffrey, healthy, might have got 200 yards that night instead of 150. Like I just feel like he's pretty much maximized where he's at. And when after that promising start, I just never really felt like he could build on it. And honestly, I give a lot of the credit for his success to the scheme and to the coaching staff and what they put together. McCaffrey, don't need to spend a lot of time on, like you said. He came back from injury. I think he was rusty. I think he was still a little bit out of shape and just never came together for him. So that's disappointing, and that's contributing to the C minus. And then Patrick Taylor, man, like you're a tough guy. Like I enjoyed watching some of your hard nosed runs, but learn how to catch the damn ball and and can you pick up some blitzes and like I don't know if we're including Juice or not. I think Juice was fine. I think he was
Sure.
he was his normal self. So he was steady Eddie or whatever, but like not enough to uplift the other guys, or maybe he did. Maybe that's part of why some of the results look so good is because they had Juice out there leading the way, but it just didn't flash for me. Like it just seemed like Juice is Juice. You're always going to get the meat and potatoes from him, but you're not going to ever get the sizzle. So, anyways, yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, I would say probably I'll give him a C plus. They say the best ability is availability, and the Niners running backs really struggle to stay available. Whether it's Elijah Mitchell, Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason, Isaac Guerrero, they all got hurt at some point, and we were down to our fifth and sixth guys at some point. So you guys highlighted it pretty well. I don't need to dive too much more into that. Let's go ahead and let's go to the other weapons, wide receivers. How do you think they did as a whole this
Are
year?
we including tight ends with the receivers, or are you going to do tight ends separately?
We'll do tight ends separately because I don't want. We'll we'll do tight ends separately. Let's just stick to the wideouts.
That's good because I was gonna have completely different grades, and
I
I
don't
was
want the wideouts to taint George.
Well, but his backups might taint him.
True.
I'm gonna go a C. Very disappointed in Ayuk's season, even before he got injured. I know it's the contract stuff, but I'm not going to grade on a scale of missing the offseason, like Steven said, for a rookie. Like you're a professional, show up, play well, and you didn't. Debo had his worst season. You know what? I'm going to change mine to a C minus as I'm talking this out. C minus. The thing that's keeping it from dropping down to a D is Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, and that's probably it. I like both Pearsall and Cowing, their potential. I think Pearsall legitimately did contribute and flash some stuff that's beyond potential. That was just like good, productive wide receiver play. And I thought Juwan was awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the C minus.
I, I'm gonna say a D plus, and
Okay.
I'm very disappointed overall in the wide receivers, and the reason that it's not an F is because of Juwan Jennings. So Juwan Jennings, you get an A or an A minus from me, and you're the man. But you talked about the young guys, the rookies, Pearsall and Cowing. I know that a lot of guys want to give Pearsall like a pass and saying, "Oh, Kyle's not featuring him enough," or Brock's not going to him enough, and that may be part of the equation. It may be true, but he was also not doing enough to make it obvious for Kyle to make him part of the game plan or for Brock to get him the ball. So, yes, he has potential. Yes, I'm excited about him. But man, it took till the last two games of the season, and I know he got shot. So I'm not I'm not forgetting that. But we're talking about grading their performance on the field here, right? So performance on the field, you were mostly anonymous all season, and then at the end you showed you have some capability. And Cowing, I feel like, is a big disappointment. And once again, you can say that it's the coaches or others, like he wasn't put in circumstances, but I feel like he had chances. And I also feel like part of what I'm factoring in there is seeing him in the return game. You can see his speed, you can see the potential, but he also would take bad angles. I feel like it's like, why didn't you cut it up there? Why are you running there? So it just makes me worried a little bit about his vision. Now, he's a rookie, so hopefully he builds off it and he gets better. But I honestly expected more out of Cowing, and I know that's silly to say because he's like a late round rookie, but I did because of what I saw. I thought he could be more. Debo, I mean, I agree. Worst season. Ayuk, I don't know if it was the contract stuff or whatever, but he did not look good when he was out there. So yeah, like I said, I feel like the receivers are a big fat F, except Jawan Jennings was an A, and so he brings them up to a D plus, but all by himself.
Yeah, I would pretty much agree. I'll give him a D, and the only reason is because of Juwan. I'll give Juwan an A minus because he got himself thrown out of the game and didn't get the 1,000 yards, and that's on him. Um, I do like what I saw from Ricky toward the end of the year. That's got me optimistic for the future. But Debo was a big fat disappointment this season. Ayuk got injured and that sucks, but prior to that and his offseason antics were really annoying. And he was a big fat disappointment as well. So yeah, I'll give the wideouts as a group a D. All right, tight end. All pro tight end 2, apparently.
I'm gonna go A, just a straight up A, not a A plus, not a A minus. George Kittle was amazing. I don't know if this was like his best complete year. He's had so many awesome years, but definitely like top 3 season George Kittle seasons, I think. He was awesome. He was consistent. He was a leader. He caught the ball. He blocked. He did it all. He kept the Niners offense going. So strong A. The only reason it's not an A plus is just because I can't even remember how the other tight ends played because I feel like the impact was so minimal. I don't even like off the top of my head, I can't even remember who the tight end to, like what his name is. Like
Eric Saubert.
Saubert, yeah.
I've
I
known
think
it.
he had 2 touchdowns on the year.
Oh, did he? I've known it throughout the season, but like I just forgot because the impact was pretty minimal. So I'm just gonna go with a strong A.
Yeah, like we did with the quarterbacks, I'm only going to grade Kittle here. I'm not going to grade the others because he was the tight end of consequence, and Kittle gets an A. I'm with Chasen for all the things he said. Don't need to say much more. He's the man. I love him. Stay forever, George.
Yeah, I agree. He was an A. I'll even give him an A plus because he was so damn efficient every time he got the ball. Averaged 14 yards a carry, set a career high in touchdowns. You get an A plus for me, George. O-line. Let's wrap up the offense. Offensive line. Go ahead, Jason.
D minus. I'd like to give him an F, but Pooney played really well for most of the season. He wasn't perfect. There were some bad games, some bad moments, bad quarters, but Pooney is what's keeping it from being an F. Outside of Pooney, I think we maybe have the worst center in the offensive, like in the
No
NFL.
ifs, ands, or buts about it. It ain't no maybe. He is.
Okay. Worst center, possibly worst right tackle, below average left guard, and no Trent Williams for most of the season. It would be an F if it wasn't for Pooney. So I'm going to give him a D minus.
I have nothing to add. I'll just jump in there. I agree. D minus. It'd be an F if it wasn't for Pooney.
It's funny. It's so hard to grade them because I feel like it's not that it's feast or famine, but like Trent had a down year for him, but he was still really good when he was out there, right? Pooney, he looked great. So it's like 2/5 of your O line you're extremely happy with and happy to have going forward. I think McKivitz, he is like the opposite of Debo. He comes up small in big moments and you really notice it, but I think that he has a lot of good or a lot of decent that goes unnoticed because of the bad plays, which I think is unfortunate for him, but that's kind of the nature of being an O lineman. So I
That's probably true.
I don't think McKivitz is as bad as people think he is, but I think that he doesn't do himself any favors about the bad plays that he has.
He's not like Jake Brendel where he's just the worst in the league at the position, but he might be like bottom 10.
Yeah, and then I think Banks is actually a decent player. So it's kind of, anyways. I'm talking all around it. I'm gonna give him a D plus. I'm a little higher than you guys. I was even thinking of a C minus, but I'm gonna give him a D plus. And yeah, that it's just a tough one to grade because it's like all over the place.
I am so down on the offensive line and like not confident that we're even going to do anything to address it. It's like the one thing that is just making me sour going into the next season is like our offensive line stinks and it's hard to win games and be the bully. But anyways, I could go off on this tangent. What's next?
Yeah, if you can't run the ball inside the 5-yard line or in 3rd and 1, like that's a problem. I have a hard time blaming the running backs for that. I'm pretty sure the Atlanta Falcons center is a free agent and he's one of the best in the league. So go get him, Kyle and John. Let's go to the other side of the trenches. D line.
They do. They
Oh,
do need. Sorry, I know you want to do the rate, but your point. They do need to make it more of a priority if they are going to pay Brock all this money that they're talking about. Like they have to get some more protection for him. And
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they do try to go after somebody high profile. I don't know if it'll be the Falcons center, but somebody like that. But anyways, sorry, D line.
his numbers, Brock's numbers are really really good when he's got time in the pocket. Like he's dialed, so protect him.
and that awful pick that he threw against the Rams, like the worst one, I really don't think he throws that if he doesn't get that rush coming on the right side that made him kind of like rush his throw a little bit. So that's just like a perfect example. But okay, D line. I think I'm a little higher on Leonard Floyd's season than you guys are. Um, I like him. I think he's a fine bookend on the other side of Bosa. Um, Not saying we shouldn't draft anybody, shouldn't get a young guy, can't bolster it. But I was actually decently pleased with Leonard Floyd. Um, and Bosa's the man. We know that he just dealt with a lot of injuries, and our interior was god awful. So I would give I would give like edge and interior. I would definitely give different grades, but I'm just gonna give him a C. I'm gonna give him a C because I feel like Floyd had a decent season, and I feel like when Bosa was healthy, he still showed that he was dominant. Um, I honestly could go a little bit lower because their interior just stunk. They couldn't stop the run, and it was frustrating as heck all season. But I'm just gonna give them a weak C.
It's another hard one because there's so many guys that rotate through, and I know they had some injuries. Like, I don't think any of us are out there saying like, "Oh, Hargrave is so underappreciated. We need to bring him back." Blah blah blah. But I also think that a healthy Hargrave all season makes the interior look better. And didn't Kevin Givens miss some time too? Like, I mean, I've
Mm-hmm.
come to appreciate him for what he is, and so I think that they were forced to rely on guys that they had signed for depth or rotational guys now all of a sudden playing bigger roles. So yeah, I think I'm probably with you at a C. Like I feel like Nick had a down year, but he's still really good. But by his standards, it was a down year. I'm not that down on Floyd. I just wish I wish that we would have had the Floyd that we had in the second half of the season for the whole season. I feel like he got
Yeah.
better. Um, so I think a C is fair. I mean, it's just so many moving parts. Hard to say.
Yeah, I agree. I think a C is fair. I think if you wanted to criticize the D line, you should probably criticize John Lynch for not having better players that are more depth there. I think the guys that were there, like Malik Collins and Leonard Floyd, like I thought those guys played at their level. Like they did what they do, and they didn't have like down years. They did what they do. Bosa's the only one who had a little bit of a down year, and he was dealing with a bunch of injuries. So is what it is. I'll give him a C. That's fine. Let's go to the second level, the linebackers. All pro Fred Warner and nothing. What do you think?
Oh, they're tough. I think I'm going to go a B minus because Fred is amazing. Fred definitely had a down year, and it's because of his ankle, or at least that's what I'm going to tell myself. I think it's too much of a coincidence that he went from like where like this might be his defensive player of the year to just like, wow, Fred's having a bad season when that ankle injury happened. So I think it's definitely the ankle. You know what's honestly raising it slightly is the short moments we got from Dre Greenlaw and how much fun it was and how awesome he was for those little moments.
Question is, how far does Devondre Campbell drag it down?
Yeah. Wait, what did I say? Did I say B minus?
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
very charitable, in my opinion.
Well, sometimes I have to talk it out and then I'm like, actually, let's drop it or let's raise it. Oh God. Okay. I'm gonna go C plus. I'm gonna change mine to a C plus because of Devondre Campbell. D Winners, he showed some stuff. He showed he's injuries prone. He also shown he can get beat pretty bad. Yeah, just burnt. But there was also a lot of good there. which makes me excited for him to be LB3 next year after Dre Greenlaw. um, outside of that, I don't. Is there anyone else to even grade? That's everyone there, right? Yeah. So C+ for me.
So I feel like this is another. There's so many tough ones, you know. Like I know it's not meant to be easy, but this one I feel similar to wide receiver, where I'm largely disappointed. And Ryan said something good earlier, like the best ability is availability. And so I feel like like D Winners, super excited about his potential, super like not counting on him because of his what he's already shown with injury history. Even Dre, you're right, like he was amazing, and it's like, oh my gosh, those moments were like nirvana, right? Where he's out there and look at the run, like him by himself fix the run defense temporarily, and
It really did.
then you know he's out again, and he gets hurt as often as he does, and it sucks. And I don't really even want to say anything critical about him because I think he's great. But yeah, I just, if you're grading it, like truly grading the position as a whole, I'm saying a D. I feel like the position overall was not good. I do feel like Devondre Campbell drug it down a lot. He was horrible. He went from horrible to, oh, it's okay that he's out there, before he gave up on the team. So like that was awful. And Fred is the man, and I'm so glad he got the All Pro based on his reputation. But we know what he can be. We know what he was this year, and like seeing some of those numbers when they're talking about like all the passes that got completed on him, like that is not Fred Warner's standard.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I mean, Fred's bringing it up to a D because of his toughness and his leadership, and the fact that even a compromised Fred Warner is still really good. But I mean, I don't see what to be like feeling good about from the linebacking crew coming out of this season, other than Fred Warner. You can talk me into potential with, if they keep Dre and he stays healthy, if D Winners can actually stay healthy, like you can talk me into like that could be an A+ unit. If you told me for sure that all three guys are playing every game and they're healthy, oh my gosh, sign me up. I'll take those three for sure. But um, they don't, and they didn't, and they haven't. So, anyways, I'm a D.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of right there with you, Steven. To me, what Fred Warner was to the linebackers is what Jawan was to the wide receivers. Like he was the bright spot, and everything else was like really rough. Devondre Campbell gets an F- for me. D Winners flashes in the run game, but can't cover a soul. And Fred Warner just being the gangster that he is, toughed it out and tried to keep that defense afloat. So I'll give him like a D+. But man, if you could argue the linebacking crew is one of the biggest positions of need this offseason. That's why I really want them to get Dre back. And let's just go ahead, Jason.
Does anyone know if Aziz is a free agent? I wouldn't mind bringing him home.
I'm not sure, but he's been playing really well.
There's a Niner fan trying to bring back a former Niner right there.
I know.
He's still young enough. He's still in his prime. I mean, gosh, he's really good.
He is. Let's just do the whole secondary, safeties, corners. Let's wrap this thing up.
Corner. Okay, so secondary. It's hard to judge. Shoot.
I can go first. I don't mind. I'll let you think on it.
Okay.
I thought Mooney had a little bit of a down year, and he had good reason for it. And I give him a ton of credit for coming back and playing when he did. He himself even said he might have come back a little early, so he didn't have to do that. He came back and he gave the team everything he had. So I totally respect him for that. Bernardo Green is a very bright spot for me. I was very happy with how he played. Malik Mustafa is a G. Can't wait to watch him next year. The safety though, the other safety spot, they need to do something. They got to bring someone in, draft someone. They got to figure out that free safety spot because I think they have strong safeties with Malik the starter, Jair your backup, but they need a free safety. So overall, I'm going to give the second. And Diamador Lenore is obviously a freaking stud. Can't believe I almost forgot to mention him. He's a stud. So I'm going to give the secondary B plus.
I'm gonna go next real quick, and I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna go B plus. Could be even higher if Mooney had played the whole season, they might be getting like an A minus from me, potentially even higher. But yeah, I mean, we got minimum like above average play from Lenore, Renardo, and Malik. So and honestly better than above average. I'm just using that. And so I'm super happy with how the secondary played, and I'm super excited to see them even get better since a lot of those guys are really young.
So if you would have divided them to corners and safeties, I would have given the corners probably an A minus and safeties a C minus. So I'm going to split the difference for the whole group and say a B minus. And
Wow.
and so I feel like the secondary was a bright spot on the team, but it's the safeties that are dragging down the corners in the overall rating if we're taking the whole thing. Because you also can't forget Yadam was out there too as a corner, so that's not doing him any favors. If you're talking about guys that played significant minutes, but Lenore is the man, and then Green, bright spot like you said, Mooney, yeah, down year but still good. So like those are three really good, dependable players. Mustafa, kind of like Green, a lot of potential, but he made some mistakes, and so that's part of the safety grade not being better. Hufanga, I think we've gotten a little bit spoiled with like I think he still does some good things that we just take for granted because we've seen a better version of Hufanga than what we see right now. I think he's still doing good things. He's just not doing great things. But Jair Brown, time to cut bait or just relegated to like the last spot on the bench for the safeties.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's only in his second year, going into his third year.
Yeah,
So he's not going anywhere, but he's a backup.
yeah.
He's a special
But
teams
it's
guy.
sad because man, I thought I had such high hopes for him when he first started playing as a rookie.
I feel like he's got decent ball skills, but he misses too many tackles, and those missed tackles led to like big runs for the opposing team.
Yep.
Can't have that.
He's,
And the Justin Jefferson, remember that 99-yard touchdown against the Vikings week 2? That was over Jair's head.
yep.
Like you're the free safety, man. That cannot happen.
He
Jimmy Ward would never.
makes too many mistakes. Yeah. But anyway, so I'm gonna give them a B minus because you lumped them all together.
All right, fair enough. Man, we had several other things I wanted to get into this one, but
Well,
we're at an hour
you
20.
didn't let me give my one F.
Who?
The specialists.
Oh God. All right, yeah, specialist, kicker, punter, long snapper. Yeah, they would get an F from me.
Mitch couldn't stay healthy. Moody F minus, and then I don't think Pepper did himself any favors, with his whole I'm trying to stand up for my guy. Pepper was fine. He did what he's supposed to
Is
do.
Jake Moody not a grown man? Can he not stand up for himself?
Right. But yeah, F.
Yeah,
I would agree.
F. You might have to recycle all three of those guys. Find some new ones.
Mitch is the one that I would say you try to keep if you can. But yeah, I hear you.
But if you can't, that's totally fine too.
That's true.
All right, let's call it there. We still got plenty of other stuff we can talk about, but hour and 20. That's good.
All right.
The Rams, by the way, are 35 seconds from beating the Vikings 27-9.
Poor Sam Darnold.
Poor Sam Darnold. Should be the Niners, though.
The Minnesota finally showed their true selves. It took the entire season to show the world they're frauds.
You know what's crazy about the Vikings season is earlier this year, they had 2 losses back-to-back. They lost to the Lions and then the Rams. And then they won 10, however many games in a row. And they ended their season losing to the Lions and then the Rams back-to-back again. That's crazy.
Did they have kind of a cupcake schedule? I mean, I didn't follow them other than when they played the Niners early, and I expected the Niners to win.
They played the mid
whatever.
NFC West. the Bears twice. They beat the Packers twice. They lost to the Lions twice. I don't know who else they played.
Yeah, I don't know what AFC division they played, but it just kind of interesting to have you say that. Like when they ran into these playoff teams, you know, they lost. Other than the Packers. Anyway,
Oh,
yeah,
Packers.
I
Packers showed the frauds too.
I suppose that might make it easier on JJ McCarthy for next year.
Yeah, the Vikings are in for an interesting offseason, that's for sure. All right, GG's. We'll do it again later.
All right,
Oh, guys.
later, guys.
See ya.
Bye.